Hey, what's up everybody? Chris here, and today I wanted to kick off a series of video reviews that I'm going to do leading up to the release of the reboot of Child's Play. And so if you're not aware, the Child's Play series has apparently run its course with as many movies as it can, and I think it's 7 movies total based on the collection that I have. And so now they're rebooting it, and Mark Hamill actually is going to be doing the voice of Chucky. And so that's going to be a pretty big departure given how Child's Play really has been defined by Brad Dourif, I believe it is. I could be totally mispronouncing that, and apologies if I am. I'll have to double check that. And his portrayal of the killer doll that we've all known to, or all come to know and love at this point. So I went and picked up the Child's Play collection, and so actually I'm going to do an edit here. I'm going to pick that up and show it to you. And here's what it looks like. It's got a nice holographic cover, or hologram cover, whatever you want to call it. Sort of a 3D cover. That has Chucky on the front. Pretty cool looking. And it includes all 7 movies. So that's Child's Play, Child's Play 2, Child's Play 3, Bride of Chucky, Seed of Chucky, Curse of Chucky, and Cult of Chucky. So I do believe that is every movie. This was something like $40 on Amazon. So that's a pretty good deal to get this collection on Blu-ray if you're a fan of horror, if you enjoy these movies. Which I do. And so I'll start off by saying that I've seen most of these, but I don't think that I've seen all of them. I know I've seen the original, and I had seen it just before I rewatched it last night. I've seen Bride of Chucky, Seed of Chucky, and Curse of Chucky. So I don't think I've seen parts of 3, I believe, which I think is the one that takes place on a military base or at a JROTC facility or something like that. So I'll have to go back and watch that one. But leading up to the release of the reboot, which is going to be happening next month, I wanted to watch all 7 of these just to kind of prepare myself for that and to make sure, that when there are callbacks and references in that movie, which is inevitable, I would assume that I'm sort of aware of those and can pick up on those. So I rewatched the original movie last night. I haven't seen it in years. It's been a long time. And I feel like when I had seen it previously, it had sort of come in parts, right? So I had seen part of it on HBO here, part of it on a channel like USA there, so it may even have been edited. But I got the full version of it last night, and I'm here to tell you that it is a surprisingly good, really solid horror movie. I think I was kind of actually stunned by how good it was, as a matter of fact. I knew that it would be entertaining, but it's even more well-made than I expected. Now, that's not to say that it's perfect at all. It does have some issues that stand out, I think. But again, it is a good movie. And so I'll just start by saying that the whole premise of the movie is ridiculous, right? And so if you're not familiar with Child's Play, the whole idea is that this killer, Charles Lee Ray, is chased down at the beginning of the first movie, the original movie, and is killed by a police detective, or is shot rather. But before he can die, he calls upon Obdela or some sort of fictitious entity that he's been made aware of through his associations with various people in the greater Chicago area to transfer his soul into another item, right? So ideally, he would be looking for a human body, and he even says that, but all he has available to him, because he's chased into a toy store, is a doll, right? A good guy's doll, or Chucky, as Charles Lee Ray goes by, but a good guy doll, which is sort of like when I was a kid, we had the My Buddy dolls that everybody had, and I had one of those, and that's probably what they were playing on when this was released. I was about 6 years old when this movie came out, so of course I didn't see it until later, but anyway, he transfers his soul into a doll. Later, another character, the mother of Andy Barclay, the kid who's sort of the central protagonist for the first few movies, picks the doll up for him for his birthday, and of course from there chaos ensues. He goes on a revenge streak to get back at the people who didn't help him when he was being chased by the cops. He does ridiculous things, and this movie does a really good job of blending horror and humor. And I will say that, calling it scary is a stretch. I mean, there are certainly some moments in the movie, especially if you've never seen it, where, it can ratchet up the tension a little bit, but I would not say that it's scary. It's more kind of amusing. It's darkly amusing than anything else. And most of that is due to the portrayal of Chucky and just his, really over-the-top lines. But I will say the animatronics or the puppetry that they use to get Chucky into the movie and to make him look realistic are great. I mean, it's some of the best, to me, practical effects that I've seen in that regard. But there are some instances where you see Chucky at a distance and you can tell that it's probably a child in a Chucky outfit running and trying to look like a doll, and it's kind of unintentionally hilarious, or maybe intentionally hilarious. Maybe they were going for humor there, and I'm just not aware of it. But one thing about the movie too that's kind of surprising is that it's sort of seedy and gritty and atmospheric. And I mentioned the atmospheric part of that earlier, but again, it takes place in Chicago. But you have these scenes where this kid is being persuaded by Chucky to take him into these really dangerous parts of town, and he's in sort of these back alleys where people are doing drugs and all kinds of stuff. And it's kind of one of those movies that makes you feel a little bit what were they doing with this, or where were they going with it? But I think that just kind of plays into sort of the tastelessness of the series as a whole, and it makes it that much more unique. I guess it makes it stand out that much more. So they could have had this set up in a very suburban setting, which I think is maybe what we're going to get with the reboot based on what I've seen with the trailer. But I like that they made this kind of a gritty, seedy movie. And the nice thing about it too is it does pay homage to other movies. So when Charles Lee Ray manages to transfer his essence or his soul into the good guy's doll, there's sort of this lightning strike that comes down. You've got sort of this Raiders of the Lost Ark moment where these clouds are coming over, but it's kind of like Frankenstein, in that all of a sudden this unholy thing is brought to life by a bolt of lightning, right? And so there's sort of a nice illusion there. There's some moments where it looks like maybe it's doing a callback to The Shining, where Andy's mother is pressed up against the door, and there's a knife coming through the door, and it's framed in a very similar way as to what Kubrick did with that. And even at the end, even though the original Terminator had not come out too much longer before this, I think that was released in the earlier 80s. When you get to the end of the movie and Chucky is being essentially dismantled sequence by sequence, at one point he's thrown into a fire and he's melting, then he gets an arm blown off, a leg blown off, his head blown off, but his body is still sort of moving forward and trying to get to Andy and his family. There's again some Terminator-esque moments to that. So I really found this to be a highly entertaining movie, even more so than I thought it would be, and actually really well made. It's a well-crafted movie. Again, at times it's probably too tongue-in-cheek or too cheesy, which, how is that possible given the nature of what this movie is about? But I think if maybe in the beginning they'd spent just a little more time talking about how it is that Charles Lee Ray has learned this ability to transfer his consciousness into an inanimate object, that may have been helpful a little bit, because it just comes out of left field that within the first 5 minutes you've got someone being chased into a toy store, shot, calling down lightning so that he can be transferred into a doll, and so it's a little bit jarring. But I suppose going into it, a movie about a killer doll is going to be jarring no matter what. And again, even though the practical effects are great, there are some illusion breaking moments where you've got people that are clearly in costumes and that sort of thing. But overall, it's a great movie. I'm going to give it a score of 8 out of 10. I think if you're a horror fan, you should definitely check it out. So if you like the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you like the content, be sure to subscribe. I'm going to be coming back in the next couple of days with a review of Child's Play 2, and I'm going to keep working through this set of movies up until the release of the reboot next month. Thanks for watching.